So, uh, I recently found out that the watershed moment in my life that essentially set up my entire career, sent me on a bunch of adventures, the entire trajectory that eventually got me here, thank you, was a lie. It was not true. The core piece of that was not accurate. So I'm not a storyteller, as you can tell. And so when I was thinking about how do I tell this story, where do I start? That's a tough place. Where do you start a story? And I thought, I want this story to be fun. I mean, it's a story about how this lie set me up to get kidnapped in Turkey, sent to Greece, sent home because of Hurricane Katrina, or thereabouts. So how do you start such a fun story? And I thought, let's start on September 11th, 2001. You're allowed to laugh at that. It's 25 years ago. Around that time, I'm in college. I'm trying to figure out, what do I want to be? What do I want to do with my life? My whole family, I come from a family of teachers, of educators. And so I'm like, well, I guess I'll teach. That's kind of the family business. Let me give that a shot. And so I end up student teaching. My first student teaching class was a 7th grade history class. And now as a parent of an actual 7th grader, I can tell you, they're very, very mean. These are unkind people. And I did not want to do that because that was not fun. Also, around September 11th, 2001, my Uncle Lester and Aunt Gay were getting ready to head down to Florida in the great New York Italian migration of the fall. And they were preparing, and my Aunt Gay realized, this week is primary elections. And so she always loved to volunteer for primary elections. And she said, let's hang tight and let me work the election. Great. So my Uncle Lester said, you know what? You're going in to go to the school. I'm going to go into work. So on Tuesday, September 11, 2001, Uncle Lester went to work as a union electrician on the 98th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. So Uncle Lester didn't make it back, obviously. Fast forward a couple of months, I grew up in New York, outside of the city. That's where I was on 9/11. And you watch all this happen, and you think to yourself, what am I going to do? What can I do? And you feel truly powerless. So I don't remember the timeline. It was a little blurry, but I go to my Uncle Lester's funeral. I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. And then my Uncle Lester's son, who I don't know, comes walking into the church, and he's wearing his full Army dress uniform, and he's coming in with what appeared to be, to me, his entire unit. And I thought to myself, these guys are only a few years older than me, and they're going to do something. They're going to do something about this. So I thought, maybe I should join the military. And then I thought, no, that's really scary and hard, and I'm very soft, and I don't know if I want to do that. So I started researching the United States intelligence community and different things like that. And fortunately, the FBI had lowered its standards after 9/11 enough to let me step over that bar through the door as an intelligence analyst. And so that was fantastic. So I go down, I do my training, I spend a little bit of time working, and they let me go on my first real international trip. I was working counterterrorism, which is what I wanted to do, and they say, you're going to Turkey, you're going to meet with the Turkish National Police, you're going to meet with their intelligence teams and collaborate on the terrorism threat that we're facing together. Awesome. I go, I get there, I go into my hotel room, all the security going into the hotel, armored car from the airport to the hotel. It's really cool. I get into the hotel room, and the phone on my bedside table is disassembled. And so I got my first lesson in not all intelligence agencies are made equal. Whoever was bugging my phone mistimed it or went out for a cigarette. Something happened, and they never made it through. So I was like, okay, well, that's good to know. It's a lot of fun. The next morning, I get in my suit. I'm all excited. We go to meet with the director of intelligence for Turkish National Police. This guy invites us into his palatial office in downtown Ankara, and we sit down. I'm real excited because I'm expecting to have some real substantive conversations about terrorism. And he proceeds to show us around his beautiful office, all of his cool things. And then we spent like an hour and a half talking about Turkish coffee, where he gave us Turkish coffee. We drank Turkish coffee. That's where I got my first lesson in diplomacy. There's no real work that usually happens on things like that. It's just letting people who love themselves tell you how great they are. And so that was fun. Finished that. We go to this dinner, really excited. It's like, we're going with these Turkish National Police leaders, and we go to dinner. I go to the restaurant, and the restaurant is a couple floors up in a building. We get in the elevator. The doors close. I'm in there with like 4 or 5 other Turkish National Police guys. They're like this tall. One of them, I think, is smoking a cigarette in the elevator, and doors close. It goes up, lights turn off, it stops, it lurches, and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't go to the military, because my body's reaction to this is not one that would prove me well in the field. So a few minutes go by, the guy finishes his cigarette, somebody pries the doors open. We were like 1.5 feet off of the main floor. We just stepped out and took the stairs up. That night, we get a phone call that I have to go to Greece. There was a rocket fired at our embassy there by a terrorist group in Athens. And because I was close by and I also had worked Greek stuff, they were like, hey, go down there and check that out. So, all right, cool. The embassy sets up my flight, my taxi, everything else. The next morning, my flight's at 6 a.m. because you have to fly through Istanbul, because those who understand geopolitics know that Turkey and Greece don't love each other that much. So I wasn't going capital to capital. I get down to the hotel lobby at 4 a.m. and there's this young man in a very wrinkled suit, looking super disheveled and really nervous, and he jumps up, he says, Mr. Ring. I say, yep. He goes, taxi. I say, got it. Get in the taxi. It is a beat-up old car. It does not look like a taxi. It's 4 a.m. I gotta go to the airport. I'm like, some clues are happening that don't seem right, but we're gonna go with it and see what happens. I get in the back of the taxi. He's flying through these side streets in Turkey, like ripping through, and I'm like, we didn't take these streets from the airport. Why are we in neighborhoods? Why are we going so fast? Why is he so nervous? I don't know, whatever. We scream into a gas station. He pulls next to the gas pump, stops the car, not a word, jumps out of the car and runs full speed behind the building past the gas station. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna die here. And so a few minutes go by. I'm sitting there going, do I sit here and die with dignity, or do I run and die with less dignity? So I'm like, I'll just stay and see what happens. It's early. I haven't had any Turkish coffee yet. And a few minutes go by. It's a long time. It's weird. He comes running back, starts pumping gas into the car, gets in, goes, broken English, sorry, I had to pee, I needed to get gas. And I'm like, okay. So I thought I was kidnapped, but I was just with an incompetent taxi driver. And there's a lot of similarity. So we go to the airport, we fly to Greece, I land, I show up, I'm ready to work. There was a terrorist attack here yesterday. I'm excited. I walk into the hotel to drop my stuff off, and the woman at the front desk just looks at me, little boutique hotel near the embassy, and she goes, hello, Mr. Ring. And I go, why do you know my name? I'm just a person walking through the front door, and I'm like, am I being kidnapped in Greece at a hotel again? And I thought about running, but again, dignity. So I went up to the room, which did not have a working lock on the door, so every night I was there, I moved my entire dresser in front of the door every night. And I didn't want to change rooms because it was a really nice room with a beautiful view. So those of you who know the Greek National Police would know that they don't work a lot, and it was a weekend when I got there, and despite the terrorist attack, they were not super into helping. And so I spent a long time. Once the week started, they were just like, we'll get to it. And we're like, okay. So I spent 4 or 5 days just every day sending my report back to headquarters, which said NSTR. So nothing significant to report about the recent terrorist attack. Eventually, we get up to, it's been so long where I had a trip with my wife planned to go to New Orleans to do post-Hurricane Katrina cleanup. It was a volunteer trip. We were really excited to go. It was with our College Alumni Association. There might have been a little Bourbon Street in the mix, but it was primarily to help clean up. And I called my boss and I said, listen, I know I'm here. I know I'm supposed to stay here, but is there any way I could go back? Like this is, and because it was a volunteer trip, she was really kind and said, yeah, you can go back. So I made it back. After my harrowing multi-kidnap trip and got to work another 21 years at the FBI. So I finished there last year. I got to leave the way I wanted to leave. I got to learn, thank you. I got to do a lot of awesome stuff. I got to meet some of the most incredible, humble, inspiring, and unbiased people on the planet. And so after those 21 years, I was very thankful. And I thought a lot about Uncle Lester and what happened that brought me there. And over the years at the FBI, I told that story many times, about why are you here? Oh, I've got this really cool 9/11 story about my uncle dying. And then I find out, I think I'm retelling the story to my parents or another living uncle, and they said, Uncle Lester? I'm like, yeah, Uncle Lester, Aunt Gay. They're like, no, buddy. I'm like, what are you talking about? They said, Aunt Gay was your mom's second cousin. Uncle Lester, that was her third husband. Like, these were just essentially strangers that inspired my entire life. So I did go to the funeral. It all happened, but that connection that really made it personal, really truly personal for me, was not true at all. And that said, I'm still very, very thankful because I got to spend years doing these amazing things. And I don't know if I would have done that if I didn't go to that church and experience that. So I'm thankful for Uncle Lester for that. I'm also, hey-o, thank you, Steve. I'm also thankful because Uncle Lester took me on a path that did not involve teaching 7th grade history or middle schoolers. And I can tell you over my career, I did spend some time sitting across the table from like legit real life terrorists, and they are way, way nicer and less scary than 7th grade kids. So, thank you.